Hello everybody, and welcome to your every other day vlog with Handy with B Libra. It's been a cool 2 months since I've last been on here talking to you guys. Had to study for the bar again. As some of you may know, I took it on February, and I think we had Texas's lowest pass rate for the bar, which is terrible. But without getting too much into that, we have an episode to do. We have a horse to get back onto. So forward is the best path to get anywhere, but not just that, but to, move on. So we're moving on. Took the bar at the, 2 weeks ago. So I'm going to wait 2 months for that. And yeah, that's now behind me. Now we get to do more B Libra things. I get to do more podcasts with Alex, which I'm super excited about. We can get back on the train. The gravy train, the Bitcoin train, because we're going places. This technology is not stopping for anybody. You could try to do your own thing, but Bitcoin is always going to be 10 steps ahead of you. It's really hard to keep track of what Bitcoin's doing day to day. So anyone that's interested in this cryptocurrency space, let alone cryptocurrency. So Bitcoin is always doing its own thing, but cryptocurrency is doing even crazier things because there's no permission. It's permissionless innovation. Anybody can jump on and build whatever the hell they want to. It's amazing. So today we're going to go on to Matt's 7th point. If you guys remember the last place that we left off at, we were doing, I think the last video, it was the 7th or it was the 6th video where I was in the installment of 8 where I'm discussing, responding to one of the commenters on one of my previous videos. His name was Matt, or at least that's what he went by, and we're gonna cover his 7th point out of 8 today, which I'm super excited about because I'm back on this. I'm back on to vlogging. I've missed it. I really do try to put something of value on here, and so yeah, it's just good to not be studying all day. Good to now be doing some of this. Aside from cryptocurrency, mostly Bitcoin consulting I'll be doing from here on out. So yeah, let's get into it. Let's get into Matt's 7th point. It's Matt's 8 points have all been pretty much not necessarily detracting from Bitcoin, not putting it down, but they are his doubts. Let's just call them his doubts. His 8 doubts on Bitcoin. So here's number 7. Let's go without further ado. Transaction costs for Bitcoin are highly variable. They can go from 10 cents to $30, literally, in a heartbeat. The cost for dollar-based transactions is close to zero. My bank refunds, my ATM withdrawal charges, I carry more than the minimum balance in my checking account, so I don't get charged for that either. Bill pay is free. I use a credit card but pay it off completely every single month. The float alone is worth hundreds of dollars a year to me. Literally, I get cash back even. The arguments I hear all the time from people about dollar transactions costing them lots of money are absurd. It's because those people carry credit card debt and can't save even a penny to save their lives. No savings over decades. It's completely absurd. Those same people are screwing themselves even worse if they think they can dodge their own mismanagement of money simply by switching to a cryptocurrency. And to that last point, I'd have to agree. But let's throw a little bit of nuance on there. Those are 2 strong points, Matt, but let's handle them one at a time. Bitcoin transaction fees aren't always volatile. They weren't always volatile. So let's go way back in time when Bitcoin first arrived into the scene. Each transaction was worth less than a penny. They were virtually free. So Bitcoin transactions were virtually free. People were going nuts, or at least the evangelists, where they were like, oh my God, we're going to compete with credit cards and we're going to make so much money just accepting Bitcoin and nixing credit card, debit card payments, which are, roughly 3 to 5% of every transaction. That was the hype. I would say that's what got a lot of people initially on board with Bitcoin, or at least one of the big reasons. And that's no longer one of Bitcoin's selling points today. Things are changing on that front, though, very soon. But let's take it back to last year. If any of you remember, Bitcoin was forked last year in August. So we went from Bitcoin to Bitcoin Cash. Bitcoin Cash was essentially selling the idea that you needed bigger blocks per transaction in order to satisfy the demand that was going to be coming into Bitcoin, that is still flowing into Bitcoin today. Bigger blocks meant that there was going to be cheaper transactions, and that would obviously allow scaling. So if you can scale Bitcoin, then it's likely that it would succeed. It's likely that most people would be, it'd be a huge incentive to use Bitcoin if you're going to be saving so much money as opposed to using credit and debit cards. But that's not what happened, for Bitcoin at least last year. Bitcoin saw a massive influx of transactions, and I remember moving Bitcoins, just trying to consolidate wallets and looking at what it would have cost to do that. It was hundreds of dollars. I was preparing for the Bitcoin Cash fork, and to do that I had to consolidate some of my wallets to just make quality of life changes easier. I swallowed $100 worth of transactions in total, if I remember correctly, to consolidate wallets. It was a nightmare. I was like, this can't be happening. This is the death of Bitcoin. We can't have $100 transactions just for trying to clean up wallets. That's insanity. So I was pretty upset. I was pretty discouraged in those moments. I thought Bitcoin was dead. But, people a lot smarter than me who are actually working on the protocol layers came up with solutions. So if you guys remember, the internet is not, the internet that we use today is not the internet that was presented 30 years ago or so. I think it was in 65, something like that, 69, one of those years, where ARPANET was released, and that was the original foundational internet that we all use today, or at least that was the first iteration. Now, TCP/IP, the TCP/IP protocol layers on top of the internet that we use today wasn't presented, or didn't come online, or weren't adopted until I think 1983 or so. It was like roughly 14 to 15 years between when the internet was first released and the layers that allow for the kind of massive throughput that we use today were used. Bitcoin today is only 9 years old. The base protocol layer that we're using today is now seeing the next iteration of layered protocols on top of Bitcoin that will allow massive throughputs and transactions. So Bitcoin is the settlement layer protocol that we're using today, and the layers that are being built on top of Bitcoin today are called, one of them is called the Lightning Network, and that is going to be the transactional layer built on top of Bitcoin. So that is going to allow massive throughput. The beta for that was released, I think, early in March this year. And so far, so good. I mean, there's plenty of bugs that are still being worked on. But as far as the tech, as far as the not just the theory of this technology, but the application is showing us that we're going to be able to do. Just imagine, in today's current iteration of Bitcoin, if you're going to spend one whole Bitcoin within, an entirety of 100 transactions, that's 100 transactions you have to pay for individually. With the Lightning Network, we're going to have Bitcoin transactions. It's going to be insane. So you're going to be able to do, say, the same scenario. One Bitcoin, 100 transactions. Hell, I could even double that. I could even make that a tenth. So I could go into 100,000 transactions for one Bitcoin, and you're only going to spend the equivalent of one transaction when it's time to settle that entire aggregate of transactions that were all included and taken care of on the Lightning Network transactional protocol. All of that gets consolidated and dealt with on the settlement layer of Bitcoin for one transaction. That's paying one time for hundreds of thousands of transactions. That's insane. That is the future, and that is all being built on top of Bitcoin. I mean, this is not, it's not apples to, it's like something small, minuscule to something massive. It's going to be a huge, I think it's going to make a very big deal. I don't think enough people understand the concept yet. I think a lot of people have some misconceptions as to, the reason why it's here, the people that made it. People have their doubts. I completely understand that, but it is all open source. Anybody can check it. Anybody can use it. There is, again, no permission. It's permissionless building on top of this initial Bitcoin blockchain, which is also permissionless. And now we have this permissionless transactional layer being built on top of it that is now in beta, that it's growing in nodes. It's growing in the amount of Bitcoin that has been put into collateral for it. I won't get into the technical stuff, but it essentially you do need Bitcoin put as collateral on the transactional layer, which is on top of the Lightning Network layer, in order to ensure the Bitcoin transactions are valid, that no one's cheating the system before they all get settled on the settlement layer, or rather settlement layer down here, transactional layer up here. Got to use the hands. Makes it easy peasy. So yeah, that Matt's point about transactional fees, that has been an issue, that has been one of Bitcoin's biggest hurdles getting to this point, has been how to deal with the transactional, how to deal with the massive throughput of transactions that are going to come through this technology. If Bitcoin really does get the adoption that we're all looking for, it's gonna be taking in a huge influx of transactions, and it would crumble. It would break apart because it just wouldn't go anywhere. It wouldn't move if we didn't come up with a transactional layer to build on top of it, which the Lightning Network has now given us. And it's all thanks to SegWit, which is a fork, which is what Bitcoin had to do last year. So Bitcoin had to make the SegWit upgrade if it was going to allow for the Lightning Network transactional settlement, or rather transactional layer. I'm going to try to stop using those words as much because they're big, they're hard to get through, and I won't bore you anymore with those. That's the point. Bitcoin will scale. It now has the tools, it now has the protocols to do that. It's just a question of implementation. It's a question of how many people will adopt it. And as I said before, the nodes and the amount of Bitcoin being put up for collateral on this transactional layer are increasing. They're increasing every day, every week, every month. And the more and more bugs that are solved on this, the more incredible this technology is going to get. So let's handle the last point. So Matt did bring up a kind of weaved this second point into this whole thing about transactions, trying to make the point that we have financial institutions that handle money for us, that handle money for the developed countries. And I understand that. I understand that we have these financial institutions, but they're not perfect. Now, I will say right immediately afterwards, Bitcoin is not perfect, far from it. But the human species, even after all of these technological, medicinal, moral philosophies that we have adapted and curated, developed as a species, we're just getting started. We have so much more to go as far as being a cohesive unit, as far as being a human species. I don't know why species, whatever. It's taken us a long time to get to where we are now as far as a cohesive unit, but we're still very fractured, on so many areas, and so many different levels, I guess, social, right? We still have a long way to go, and if it doesn't take but a second to go online and see the divide that we have between each other, just on the matter of ideas alone, let alone beliefs, ideas, and beliefs as far as economic, as far as social, as far as all sorts of things. And that's fine. I think that's okay. I'm not asking for a one world order. I'm not asking for a collective hive mind. But there could be there's a lot of room for improvement as far as being better to each other, being a more wholesome planet of humans. That's all we are. There's nothing else that separates us, really, aside from gender. That's it. Just the gender. That should really be it. But that doesn't even divide us. That's no need to. Okay. We're all humans. That's it. That's all that really matters. Yeah. So this financial illiteracy that Matt brought up, I agree it's a problem, and financial institutions, all being equal, are still lacking in a lot of ways. Um, Being able to be, you know, having the ability to be banked is a luxury. It's something that not many people have. I think half of the world, I think less than half of the world has access to banking, and that's a problem. And the current infrastructure of our banking today cannot handle the demand that is around globally. If those that are underbanked or unbanked, frankly, use Bitcoin, it would completely change their lives. There's no setup fees. There is no initial fees. There is no offsetting fee. There's no fees for using Bitcoin. You just get a wallet and you use it. Um, it's not going to solve the issues that some people have. We bringing back the financial illiterate. Just if you don't know how to manage your money, Bitcoin is not going to solve that for you. If Bitcoin does reach mass adoption and people that bought many Bitcoins trying to strike it rich, once they do become rich, if they have bad spending habits, if they have bad financial literacy, they're going to lose all that anyway. There's plenty of stories of people that have bought lottery tickets, get millions of dollars, and then they're broke a year later or less. It's tragic. People that earn their money, through sports or any matter that someone's endeavored to make lots of money. If you're not careful with money, you lose it. That's it. It flows out of you. It just falls through the seams in your fingers, and it goes to the next person that maybe is more deserving of it. But money is fickle. It doesn't care. The person will, maybe the next person is also bad with money. It'll flow to the next person. I'm not calling for massive hoarding here, but I am calling for safety. I am calling for having an amount of money that makes you feel safe, to where if something bad happens for an entire year, you're okay. I'm not saying, to accumulate all the wealth in the world and give nothing to nobody. Don't be a miser, but be prudent, be careful. Be the person that other people can rely on for help. Not that you should just, throw your money to everybody, but just saying, like, there's someone else that's trustworthy, close to you, a network. Maybe someone has a business idea and they just need a little bit more money, and you have it to spare, and it's a meaningful idea. You are giving to the community, you are giving to the economic community, you are allowing others to prosper while prospering yourself from dividends or interest or whatever you want to do, whatever kind of lending structure you want to come up with, and invest. Yeah, this thing that me saying that Bitcoin is going to solve a lot of issues, and I do say that, I do believe it as well. It's not going to come because it's going to make everybody millionaires. That's not at all what it is. It's a lot deeper than that. If the money that I'm accumulating is more valuable tomorrow than it is today, it should, in theory, like the dollar today. If you're smart, okay, let's make this equivalent. If I have a lot of dollars today and I'm smart, if I'm financially illiterate, I'm going to assume Matt is financially literate for this example, and just in general, we'll say he's financially literate. Matt will not hold on to dollars. Why? Because the dollar has shown us that it's always been losing value. As time goes on, as any fiat currency, and the dollar is a fiat currency, there's no getting around that. There is no, I'm the exception because I'm the greatest currency. No. All fiat currencies lose value over time. If you're financially literate and you have lots of dollars, it's because you're eagerly looking for the next place to put those dollars, which is an asset, not a liability, something that's going to gain in value most likely, or at least just maintain its value over time compared to the dollar. People that are financially illiterate put more of their dollars into liabilities, and also hold on to a lot of it where it's not doing anything for them but losing value. Right? Those are very simple tenets. I mean, there's plenty more to dig through there, to get through there. But my point is this, just if I'm going to be earning a money, so that's the dollar. So that's what the dollar does. What Bitcoin does, on the other hand, is if you're earning Bitcoin as opposed to earning dollars, you are incentivized to hold Bitcoin. You're incentivized to hold Bitcoin because the market is trading at 24/7. The market is very fickle. 24/7 means if the price starts to drop drastically, there is no, okay, calling off day trading, calling off the trading for the day. We're going to close a day early. We're going to do these things that stock exchanges can do where they kind of just shut down on themselves and disallow the trading anymore of assets because they're freaking out about a 10% drop, a 20% drop, which is massive for as far as stocks go, but it's happened. And they'll do this thing where they essentially shut their doors to trading to kind of stem the bleeding. But that doesn't happen with Bitcoin. The price is always being traded. This is an asset that doesn't matter how low it's going. If it's dropping massively, it keeps going until it's done. So the market is extremely lively, extremely, and I'm going to argue, resilient for this reason. Bitcoin doesn't have any safety valves. There is no safety features. There's no shutting the door on trading and, oh, let's stem the bleeding. Maybe people will feel better tomorrow and not dump anymore and lose their shirts and lose a bunch of money. No. Bitcoin is trading 24/7. It doesn't care if it's blasting off into space or diving down to subsurface levels. It goes down, which means the price you see today is very closely aligned with the perceived value by the market, which is good news if you've had Bitcoin since even last year around this time, because I think it's still above what it used to be worth a year from now, rather a year ago. Yes, it did balloon to incredible levels, but we have come back down, and we're not looking at a dire situation if you had bought at the same time last year. And obviously, what you see today, if you look back at charts, history is not indicative of what's going to happen in the future. Never do that. But it is something to take note of. It's one of those things. Okay, you scratch things off as far as is Bitcoin a sound investment. Now, I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. The saying goes, if something is too good to be true, it is. That's not going to stop me from evangelizing Bitcoin. It's not going to stop me from telling people that have some money that they could put aside or that they can try investing in Bitcoin. I'd never tell them to put more than 5% of their portfolio. But I would say this is an asset worth considering. This is an asset worth considering for all the reasons I've stated before. It is a potential future. I think it's a sound future for money. I don't think it's the best. I don't think it's perfect. Here's what I do think. I think it's the best money humanity has set forth, has proposed, but by no means is it perfect. There's things like privacy features that I wish would be implemented on even just the base layer of Bitcoin's protocol. There's many things that Bitcoin could improve on, but to date, I think it's the best, and that's amazing. I think we'll stop it here. I think this video went far enough. Or went long enough. I've just been really excited to get back on here in front of the camera, in front of you guys, and presenting my ideas. So yeah, please stick around. We're going to be doing some interviews for Belibra again. We got plenty of people lined up, or plenty of people that I'm going to be working to line up with Alex. Hopefully they'll come back, or they'll come on for the first time. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, listening. Please like if you like. Please subscribe, and please share with a friend if you care. Why not? Dare to believe in Bitcoin. I don't really sound like it's like a religious cult. A lot of people have said that, but it's not. It's very exciting. It's exciting tech. I would even do this for the internet. Believe in the internet. It's done a lot for us. All right, signing off. I'll get off now. Bye.